Well, I'm bringing the bit of information about the worldviews of nature repository that we started at UNESCO Bangkok, and essentially trying to lobby some countries as well as NGOs to participate in conferences around the world. The idea behind this project is that a few years ago, 7 years ago, I challenged the United Nations obsession with the universalization of everything, universal this, universal that, universal that. And I don't think we should forget that any concept of universal is usually based on the dominant cultural hegemony of that time. What it does is it removes the common man from many other civilizations from the process within the United Nations declarations. Anyway, on the issue of nature, my position was that if we really want to save the world, we cannot continue to have universal convention on ethics based on just Western European culture, because they don't make sense to the man, the Indian on the street. I'm not talking about the Indian in the government or the colleges. I'm talking about the Indian on the street, or the Chinese on the street, or the African on the street. Let me give you an example. All United Nations conventions are based on the Abrahamic concept of fear. So in 30 years' time, the world is going to end, and that's it. So we must save it. Now, I, a Sikh, believe that there are many universes and my soul transmigrates. So I say, if that is the karma of the world, why are you bothering me? Yeah? My soul will transmigrate somewhere else, and there are many other universes. Doesn't make sense to me. It makes a lot of sense to the average European. Yeah? So if they really want to get the average Sikh, average Indian, average Chinese engaged in this process, they need to find wordings which inspire them from their centuries of cultural foundations. And every civilization, every religion, every belief system has a concept or a statement or some sort of a practice which binds the human being to nature. It's not a new invention. It didn't come up with the coming of the United Nations. It's there. So we are holding a number of conferences on this. That's the idea behind the repository of worldviews of nature. We're having a conference in Pune next week, in which we've invited experts from the Vedanta, from the Samkhya, from the Nyaya, from the Sadhu traditions, from Jains, Buddhism, Sikhism, to participate and bring their unique conceptual statements and frameworks and papers, which we hope then will contribute to the world views of nature repository. And then the next one is in South Africa, where African traditions are being requested to bring this, and then probably one in South America next year.
Sir, tell us how far has the study and efforts of repository come along in terms of making it evident that we need to go more regional and region-specific and culture-specific more than global?
Well, there was a resistance initially when I first raised this issue 7 years ago. Then I was challenged to write a booklet, and the booklet was we wrote with the help of a couple of other people. It's called Universalism and Ethics of Environment, and it essentially does a critique of the United Nations obsession with universalism. There was a bit of a resistance to its publication, but the UNESCO has finally published it, and so I thought that was a great success. And then they've agreed to the repository idea.
If you were to wear a cynic's hat and look at the approach that you were talking about in a more cynical manner, what challenges do you think it can face in terms of making the climate change impacts mitigation efforts and biodiversity conservation efforts more effective?
Well, I heard a gentleman this morning in the indigenous people's side event, and I thought that statement stuck with me. He said, "Who is the government?" It came up in 1947. Sarkar kaun hai, right? we the people have been living here for centuries. This is our earth, this is our nature, this is our values. Uh, and to take that further, we all know that we human beings have done a lot of damage to the environment. And if we want to be inspired, it's not government officials sitting in competing with each other who are going to do it. It's you and me, the man on the street, the woman on the street, who has to connect with it. And let me tell you, I have experience of Punjab. The two most successful environmentalists there are both religious people, and they're both drawn in from the Sikh traditions, and encouraged thousands of people to engage in cleaning rivers, planting trees. Over 1 million trees have been planted in Punjab by Baba Seva Singh, and a number of rivers have been cleaned by Baba Sichawala. Now, the Punjab government hasn't been successful, NGOs have not been successful, and there are plenty of these around India. Yeah? These are the people, these are the individuals who are going to save this earth. And I think the United Nations needs to start looking towards that. The challenge is, well, the UN system itself. The UN system is obsessed, well, after when religions used to say there is one truth, the UN has come up with one truth, value of truth. So it finds all these ethical values and say these are for the world. Okay? And the second challenge is the states themselves, who are now sort of honed into this system. They find it very difficult to cope with the idea of diversity in human ideas.
Well, that was a very different approach, very different outlook that I've personally come across after interviewing so many people. Thank you so much for bringing in this. So another point.
See, I raise this issue as an Indian. And as an Indian, I want to say to other Indians, let's not forget that the strength of the Indian civilization has been its pluralism. And its pluralism draws from the idea that the Indians have never accepted the idea of universalism. No Indian tradition has ever said we are the best and you're incompetent or you're not good. By accepting others, that is the strength of Indian civilization. And that is what I'm trying to hoping to bring into the UN thinking, that we need to accept other cultures and their value systems and bring them into saving the world. Thank you.